This'll do nicely, XR.
When I'm ready, and not before.
Greetings. Another good find.
When I'm ready, and not before.
could find. Welcome, exile. Greeting. Ah.
When I'm ready, and not before.
Hello.
Exile.
Hello. And so my mistakes are put to rest, and the mighty general has fallen. We honor them both with this brew. Here we stand, amidst the coagulating remnants of my creation. Funny, isn't it? Once I placed my beast on a pedestal as my pride and joy. Yet now I send you to breach the hull of my pet's fouling black core. I have brewed for us a potion from the remnants of our harvesting hunt. I shall apply this fermentation to the weakened membrane and meet you within the black core where we shall further our agenda. Hello. The ember is a seed, the black core of the beast's heart. It is the pure, undiluted essence of corruption. Everything my pet once was, all of its power, the stupefying effect it had on us gods, it all dwells within this dark ember. With this, we shall lay Kitava to waste. The once-starved god shall fill his gut and pass on into oblivion. Kitava will fall, and the ember shall disperse into nothing more than ash dancing across the cobbled rooftops of Oriath. Those souls we now harbor, as individuals, they cannot hope to provide the onslaught of power that birthing our dark ember will require. But together each soul shall shift and change. They shall be knit into one creature, filled with animosity. Our unholy union will excite the beast, and bring forth our dark ember from its rotten womb. You should steel yourself, dear friend. For once the cork is plucked from the bottle, the whole world will change. It was never meant to transpire this way. My beast was born to be a thing of beauty, a crowning jewel to rest upon humanity's head. I wanted to give your kind a chance for peace, a chance to play atop the great stage, no longer pawns to a pantheon of petty, slavering gods. It was only ever defending itself. The fault lies within the twisted hearts of those who would betray their own humanity. Not even I could anticipate the cataclysms my pet wrought on Rayclast. Both vile and eternal, ruins in the pages of history, and the others trailing back across the eons. There is blood on my hands, exile. The innocent blood of millions, and try as I might, the stains just won't wash off.
I'm ready, and not before. Everything dies!
Just in time. Ah, there you are. Ready to revisit the past? The more you kill, the more you change my map. And the closer we get to finding the temple in the present day. Every incursion needs proper preparations. Let's go. anyone would think you harbor the same lust for chaos as Heohi. Well, setting them up like this only increases their explosive arsenal. The temple looms closer with each new step. Find me again, and we'll continue our task. Just in time. Ah, there you are. Ready to revisit the past? The more you kill, the more you change my map. And the closer we get to finding the temple in the present day. Every incursion needs proper preparations. Time to go.
When I'm ready, and not before.
Good job, Exile. God's Exile. You really want to make things difficult for us. Who knows what this part of the temple will be like in the future? The temple looms closer with each new step. Find me again, and we'll continue our task. Just in time. Ah, there you are. Ready to revisit the past? The more you kill, the more you change my map. And the closer we get to finding the temple in the present day. Every incursion needs proper preparations. Time to go.
When I'm ready, and not before. Job.
Both you and the architect of thaumaturgy share a love for gems, I see. The temple looms closer with each new step. Find me again, and we'll continue our task.
Another good find.
not before.
Good find. This'll do nicely, Exile.
Something doesn't seem right. Yes, it would appear our old friend Malachi has one final trick to play. A thaumaturgical wound to the hearts of my precious beast. This complicates things, but not perhaps so much that there is nothing we can do. Exile, listen to me. I'm about to release the souls of our unholy trinity from their decanter. Their anger will exude more power than you have experienced ever before. You must defeat them one by one to fuse their remnants into something volatile enough to coax the dark ember from its womb. Ready yourself. The souls of these three continue to surprise us. Quickly now, the hearts have become doorways. Enter N, complete your mission, though I cannot say exactly what you will find on the other side.
Yes. Yes. When I'm ready, and not before. ready and not before. and not before. I'm ready and not before.
At last, our trio joins to become one foul spirit. Destroy that creature of darkness, and let us be rid of this place.
You're questioning me, the great sea mistress Lily Roth, about how she so happened to find you failing at drowning on some godforsaken fleshy piece of land. Thought it'd be obvious. Grandfather and I, we came to thank you for our little reunion here you started. Caught wind that you were playing around up here with that dead beast from the locals. So we followed your trail, dreading we'd be finding your body bits strewn all over this godforsaken mountain. But lo and behold, what do we get? Our favourite exile twiddling their thumbs. Your lucky old Whalem's still got some thaumaturgical prowess in his bones. How the hell did you end up here anyhow? Well, I suppose you'll be wanting us to ferry you over to Oriath. Take care of that nasty cannibal god Katava once and for all. Well, we'd be glad to oblige. There'll be plenty of treasures in ruined Theopolis just sitting there for the taking, I'm sure. Say the words and we'll set the sails. Well, I suppose you'll be wanting us to ferry you over to Oriath. Take care of that nasty cannibal god Katava once and for all. Well,
I ain't gonna lie to you, friend. You look like actual shite. Like a real big steamy pile of goat droppings. What in the bloody hell happened to you since we last crossed compasses? Well, never fear. Your favourite captain, old Rottooth, is here to save the day. I guess I owes you a bit on account of bringing Lily and I back together. Aye, as you can see, I finally found a missing powder in me shot pouch. By that I mean me courage. Managed to make my way over to Lion Eye's watch to see my granddaughter finally. Tell you, I don't know what in the blazes I was fretting about. She took to me like a fish to water. It was as if no time had passed at all. Anyhow, it'd be lucky for you that we did so, as we were out looking for you to offer our thanks. Followed me compass, listened to the thaumaturgical whisperings of my ship, and next we know, we'll be following a trail of blood and guts leading straight to you, wasting your time in the middle of God knows where.
ready to go? Just in time as well. Grandad says there's a good thaumaturgical headwind blowing our way. Well, once more, you owe me for letting you sail around on me ship. But that's okay. I'm the kind of gal who can play the long game. Sometime in the future, I'll be in need of your services once more. You can pay me back then. All right, come on. You got a job to do. Lives to save, goals to kill. Better get to it. That Bannon's a real siren if you ask me. Even after the beating he's taken. Bulging muscles, pretty yellow hair. I'd be willing to bet the barrel of his piece is longer than a ship's mast as well, if you be understanding me drift. It's a shame, in all honesty, that he's one of them foolish holy men. Though even that ain't so bad. Lily Roth loves herself a challenge. Not much I can say about that raving monster. While he still breathes, it fares ill for all of us. There ain't no amount of ocean we can put between us and him that Katava won't see as simply an extra jug of wine in his cup.
Welcome ye to Oriath. Smell that fresh landlubber air. Ain't nothing like the air in Theopolis, full of debauchery and pollution, hidden neath the garb of them holy Templars. Seems the place has changed a fair bit since last I were here. A lot more blood and entrails than what I remember. Well, best Lily and I stay here, where it be safe. You journey on ahead, matey, and see what blimey buggers you get to kill next. Say, you're not in the market for a new cutlass or anything, are you? Recently unlocked the Black Crest's old armory. Found a whole shite-load of weaponry down there from another time. If you fancy it, be glad to show you my stock. See if there's anything in there you'd like to pick up. Nah, there's a woman who can hold her own. Oh, hey, look at her. A marvellous specimen of the female persuasion. Aye, reminds me of Meredith, me long-lost sweetheart. Oh, would it be that I could have a woman like that at my side once more? Someone to stare out over the bow into the salt spray of the sea with. Someone to warm the cockles of me heart. And a few other things in my bed at night. Oh, yeah. Now that'd be the dream. Lousy, good-for-nothing blackguard. In all me years at sea, never have I ever serviced a filthy blackguard on my lovely ship. If the Brine King still drew breath, I tell you, having this Bannon aboard would be an affront to the Lord of Saltonscale. Him and his kind have hung, drawn, and courted too many of ours. I don't rightly trust him. Not at all. Me thinks Lily is fixing to have her way with that damn blackguard. Well, I tell you, not if I have anything to say about it. Look at me. Never thought I'd see the day when old Whalem were to be the prudish grandfather. Yet here we are. Damn conscience will be the death of me.
Let me tell your future.
The prodigal returns. Have you brought with you a weapon to free us? The ravenous one has only grown more hungry since you left us, and I fear your efforts may be too little, too late. Kitava has all but destroyed us here, and our poor departed Utula's cultists have taken hold of the city. There's little ground left to tread that won't cause the grasping claws of Hinekora to reach out and wring our pretty little necks. I see your eyes, exile. You wonder why I am here instead of at the Overseer's Tower. I'll tell you the horrible truth. The tower has fallen to the infernal devices of Kitava. That witch, Violenta, is to blame. She lowered a secret ladder and led Kitava's cultists right to our very beds. Bannon and I barely escaped with our lives. Together, we cut through the hordes, but it was no use. They had us surrounded. Bannon created a distraction which allowed me to flee. When I last saw him, he was perched atop the rooftops, holding off our enemies, though how long he will last, I cannot say. If you are going that way, perhaps you can find him and return him to me. I have grown fond of that Templar.
The fire of Namahu burns within his belly. It would not fare well for us in this war if that fire were lost. I believe Vailenta was not of sound mind. At night, we often heard her cry out in sleep, fearing unseen things. I wanted to toss her out on the streets, let the beasts of this fallen city tend to her madness. But Bannon refused to leave behind one of his own. Would that he had listened to me. Vailenta thought that if she gave us up to Kitava, the ravenous one would look kindly upon her. Well, look upon her he did. But what he saw and what she became is the thing of nightmares. Her nightmares, perhaps. In another life, perhaps Lily and I would have sailed the oceans together. I enjoy her presence and the conversation she brings. She has a call for adventure, coupled with a kind of optimism I rarely see. I hope that once all of this settles down, we might remain friends. I don't quite enjoy Whalem as much as I do his granddaughter, but Lily favours him, and so I will too, unless he does something truly horrid that forces me to revoke my opinion. A dark angel on your shoulder, perhaps? In another time, the presence of this god would trouble me, perhaps even frighten me. But in these days, I cannot afford the sensation of surprise. If he's helped you this far, as you say, then one might expect he will help you all the way to the bitter end, and that is good enough for me. Kitava's appetite has grown bigger than even his devotees had expected. His hunger moves faster now than his followers can keep up. I suppose the canals were the perfect answer to their problem, really. They converted them into one giant feeding trough to bring food to his mouth at a speedier rate. Before their god rose from the depths, Utula and his cultists had direction. They wished to see Kitava free to stage his horrifying banquet. I was foolish enough to believe these theological mumblings as symbols for Kadui freedom. Now that their prophecies have come to fruition, the cultists have lost their minds. It's hard enough to believe the end times of your chosen religion will ever happen, let alone to last longer than the final pages of your holy book.
It is good to see that you survived, my friend. But then, you have fared far worse. The froth of a violent ocean should be no problem for you. While we have been absent, Oriath has become a necropolis, a swarm of Kitava's wretched servants. The situation looks more dire than I had first anticipated. Before we make our move, we must know what we are dealing with. I send you, Exile, as a scout. As the only scout that would stand a chance moving through the shifting forms of this nightmare. You must discover where Kitava resides. Only then can we issue our final blow. You needn't fret. The Dark Ember is still safely in my possession, and will remain so until our final confrontation with Kitava. That carnivorous blasphemy will fall like a log cut from the darkest of forests. And we shall watch him burn, as Oriath and the rest of this world breathes a sigh of relief. Lily Roth is a noble... how do you say it? Scallywag? I have witnessed the rise and fall of many great men and women over the eons, and Lily is well on her way to being amongst the very best of them. I suspect one day her name shall be sung in salty taverns the world around. I must remember to keep on her good side, now that she can see me. The beautiful pirate princess hunting down the great god Sin would make for a fantastic tale, I'm sure. But one I would rather have remain in the pages of fiction. Aside from my own presence, I no longer feel the vibrations of other gods. Though there may yet be more out there, for now, Rayclass can breathe a sigh of relief. However, we must turn our sights to Kitava, who still gorges himself on those poor souls trapped in Oriath. You have drunk your fill of my kind. The essence of deity courses through your veins, waiting to be expunged upon a chosen victim. We can only hope it will be strength enough to face that demoniac of a god.
Yes?
Good to see you still kicking.
You there! Exile! I am in need of your services once more. Help me! Phew. I would thank God for you, my friend, if that weren't too on the nose. I felt for sure that this time it was my turn to depart our world. Kitava's cultists surrounded Lani and I a while back. We split up and I led a distraction so she could make best her escape. Funny, I really should have considered my own plan for evasion once I'd allowed her hers. In any case, it is good to see you again, Exile. Let us talk more in a safer space. I shall meet you back at the docks. Good to see you made it back. You look at me with suspicious eyes. Yes, I know you have your apprehensions about me, and my new indwelling spirit. But if it helps a little, I feel innocence stirring inside me, awakening with an odd sense of gratitude towards you. It was, after all, your bite that returned him to humility, allowed the scales to drop from his eyes. If you are to go wandering the city in its current state, be careful where you step. Kitava's cultists are constantly on the prowl, actively seeking food for their god. What's worse, the passage to Kitava's feast is blocked off by two large black gates. We call them Kitava's horns, and they are utterly impenetrable to the motions of man. There is but one way in which we can reach Kitava and deprive him of his eternal meal. The staff of Avarius lies somewhere amongst the rubble of the Chamber of Innocence, still billowing with holy power. If you were to find it and return it to me, I believe the power in the staff will act as power enough to break through the horned gates. While they had me trapped, I heard those cultists' mad gibberings. Their words were akin to that of the ray-classed cannibals, nonsensical sentences accompanied by the most unsettling of cackles. I fear that they have indulged too deeply into Kitava's famed habit and caught the laughing plague that so often accompanies men and women who choose to engage in the consumption of human flesh. As I'm sure you've noticed, that damnable god Kitava no longer resides on the rooftops as last you were here. No, the monster has acclimatized himself to Theopolis. He has set up quite the banqueting table for himself. It appears he believes he has a lot of consumption to catch up on. Best I can tell, his new residence lies through the ravaged Oriath Square and past the canals, now the feeding troughs. Heed my warning, friend. Tread lightly through that area, for those cultists are out and about once more, actively seeking food for Kitava to devour. I wouldn't blame you for being curious about the god now dwelling within me. In truth, I'm honored to have been chosen to be Innocence's vessel. You may hear this and think I sound like a pious Templar fool, but it is hard to remain an unbeliever when the gods walk around you, and indeed one sleeps inside you. No need to fear, however. Our poor purity god surely regrets the actions of his past. I can't see him, but I can feel his spirit, wounded and cowering somewhere inside me. At night I hear him whimpering over his wounds. I must say you hurt him good, but as much as I feel his pain, I also feel a budding newness in his heart. He is growing again, and relearning the compassion for humanity that he had long since lost. The Chamber of Innocence is exactly where you left it, though cultists and vandals may have had their way with it since last you visited. Innocence himself no longer cares for the place. In fact, I feel a pained revulsion for it, hence why I cannot go myself. But I'm certain you are more than capable of forging a path through that broken temple once again. Back when the cultists took control of the city, the very ground itself shook, as if pained by some dark abomination. The gnarled horns of Kitava erupted from the earth like spiraling pillars of corruption, weaving together a barrier impeding travelers from moving through the city.
Then it is as I feared. Kitava's strength has grown insurmountable in our absence, and his horns now deny us entry to his feeding trough. Evidently, the hungry god has grown picky about what crumbs now travel towards his burgeoning throat. It is this strength that concerns me. I have spoken with our friend Bannon over there, a willful vessel of my misguided brother. I knew eventually we would need to enlist my brother's services, though I had hoped we need not do so this soon. Yet it seems that we have no other choice. We must invoke my dormant brother, slumbering within Bannon's frame. Kitava's horns are a thing of great corruption, which only Innocence's purity can dispel. Before we proceed, I feel I must confide something in you. Bannon wishes me not to speak of it, as he is willing for the sacrifice. However, I feel you should know. Once we invoke Innocence, once we dredge him up from his cocoon inside the soul of Bannon, the man shall cease to be. Only the god shall remain. Do you understand what I say, Exile? If we take this path, Bannon will die, excruciatingly so, burnt with purity from the inside out. As I said, Bannon is willing to commit his life to this cause. But perhaps you should say your farewells before we move past the point of no return.
I'll see what I can do for you.
Bannon is alive and well. In no small way thanks to you, I would be willing to guess. Without him being here, I would have lost my sanity or my life a long time ago. Take this gift as a token of both our appreciation. Now that you have returned, and we have managed to sturdy ourselves once more abreast this mighty ship, I ask of you one more favor. Find that traitor Violenta and kill her. Though I wish to see her dead as revenge for her insurrection, Violenta has become something far worse under the radiation of Kitava's gaze. She must be stopped.
Was a time when the ladies would be begging for a bit of old Whalem, but I ain't felt the warm caress of a woman in a long time, and it wounded me dreadful. During me time on the sea, I heard tale of Queen Edzeri and her penchant for using this land as a kind of vault for all her special shinies. One such shiny be her famed love potion, supposed to attract the drinker's ideal mate to their loins, even if that mate be far across the sea. Old Queen Edzeri kept the liquid in the skull of her favourite lover. Them damned Templars probably got their hands on it by now, and the potion's bizarre container has me thinking they probably went and tossed it into the ossuary along with the rest of the bones they got lying around. Exile, be you the friend I believe you to be, then find a potion for me, so that I can experience true love once more.
Now that the Brine King is nothing but crab meat, his sunken domain, the ancient city of Soartha, is ripe for the plundering. My granddaddy once dedicated a good portion of his sailing life trying to hunt down the location of that monolithic city. Then, while he were otherwise indisposed, yours truly tried to follow in his gnarled footsteps, track down the teardrop, a pearl as big as your head, carved with the clues to the city's subaquatic location. I was this close to completing my grandfather's legacy when those damn Templar privateers raided me ship and took off with the teardrop, threw it in their reliquary here in Theopolis. As it were, now's the perfect time to retrieve that dazzling pearl. Think you can nab it for me? I'll make it worth your while. Maybe tick it off the list of things you owe me. Every cell-dwelling lad or lass knows of Soartha. They call it a city, but more of a slaughterhouse than anything else. Old Salty himself ruled over the place, treating its citizens as morsels from his own personal pantry. Those who weren't devoured outright were picked to try continue his family line. They became fishwives like that pretty young Nessa near ended up being. Well, the Brine King, as you know, was forced into a slumber beneath the ocean, and the city was said to have joined him there as well. A few folk managed to flee from the collapsing coral shards, start new lives for themselves, but I'll be reckoning they left all their valuables behind. Were a long time ago now, but them privateers took the teardrop, threw it in the reliquary, then took yours truly and threw me in those goddamn slave pens. Far as I can tell, they never did work out what the teardrop were for. Lucky me, I suppose. It was tough, but with the help of a few other undesirables, I managed to find me way out of them pens and into the reliquary. Made an attempt to burgle back what was burgled from me. Boy, did we sure underestimate the size of them guards the Templars had on the place. Only I managed to escape unscathed. Me accomplices weren't to be so lucky. They ended up in Ray-classed, much like yourself. Fact, I believe you may have crossed paths. Creighton? Elira? Oak?
Hello. Hello. Freedom comes to those who fight. Greetings. Greetings. Freedom comes to those who fight. Yes.
Now that I have both ingredients, I shall brew us a nice cup of what we need. There has never been a substance more corrosive than this, apart from my dear Garukhan's sarcastic wit. Let us meet soon at the blood pools surrounding the lesion.
What was that earthquake caused by? Some sort of death shudder from that volatile beast? I've no thaumaturgical bone in my body, yet still I can sense the corruption seeping out of the cracks in that mountain. This can't be. Why would you disturb its rest?
Hush now, sweetie. The situation is more complex than you would first think.
The Marrakech sat under the curse of the beast for thousands of years. They'd just gotten free, yet now you do something to bring the source of its darkness into our very presence. This is unconscionable. It's
the right choice. Would you rather a hostile reign of warring immortals? Our hero obviously has some kind of plan in mind. If this shift in the mountain can remove the gods from Reclast, then I, for one, am happy to be shook up a little.
Well, whatever the case, at least we have each other.
And we are strongest when we stand together.
There I was, tending to the animals when the ground moved beneath me. It was like the whole earth groaned in pain, a cry unlike I've ever heard. The mountain trembled, and for a moment it seemed as if death was due to visit us, here in Highgate. I don't know what you did, outsider, but I hope you did not hurt the mountain. She is our mother, and if a stranger were to wound her, I would slit their throat myself.
Yes.
Yes?
Can we be of help?
By the gods, and by the death of gods, you still live. I don't know what you did, but I can sense something has shifted. A weapon has been discovered, perhaps, to turn the tide of bloodshed, brought on by these sickening gods. Tell me, what did you find? No, I mustn't inquire, for fear of losing my mind as well as my eyes. Oh, I am struck by a peculiar yearning exile. Stood on the precipice of a cliff, with an insatiable longing for the ground. Please, leave me, before the frenzied voices inside my head devour my body and soul.
Hello.